Well, I mean, it was definitely a change. I was probably one of the last to come to terms with it, only because some people have a grandfather, but I was blessed to have a best friend, so it was a lot more difficult for me. But, even as he's dying and making his change, he's able to teach you, which I used to be a real heavy smoker. And once I started seeing how the COPD was really taking him, gosh, that was over 4 years ago now. I haven't smoked cold turkey, so he definitely big influence on that. Just seeing someone that you've always known as a hero, or someone who's been just the toughest guy and could do anything, start to not remember things and can't walk anymore, can't pick things up, and kind of the guy I would call to come help me at my house, or really if I said, hey, I need my shoe tied, he'd come help me. So that was kind of a big change. But I thought that it was my turn, Now if he needs something and calls, I get to go over there and help him as he needs. But it was definitely heart-wrenching to see it. I can say that. I was probably the worst in the beginning because I had a friend who had passed away at hospice, and growing up, you don't ever learn anything about hospice or what happens towards the end of your life, really, for that matter. And when I had got the call saying that he was going to be going into hospice, I got upset because in my mind, in my eyes, that's where you go to not come back. And like I said, it was hard for me to accept he was really sick anyway. So I was very adamant about him not going. And he went, and once I had went in, I didn't really talk to anybody because I was still under the conception that, it was a really, really bad place. After about the second time I went in there, they started to, hey, how are you today? Telling me kind of updates on what he had went through in the day, and just slowly started to see, hey, this is not what I had assumed it had been. And after a while, it was, they were more friends to you. They weren't nurses. They were there for you to help help your grandfather or whoever you had in there. And they just were very welcoming. They made you feel comfortable. Just, when you're going through a lot as it is, just anything seems to help and make things easier. And they would go above and beyond anything they needed to do. I know she had said about me pushing him in the wheelchair, which was really one of the last nights he was at his most coherent. So the nurse actually suggested that, and she had brought it in. And I'm usually a pretty shy individual. I know you probably think that. But I was a little apprehensive about it, and I'm thoroughly glad that she had done it, because it was the last moment that we really had together. And 20 minutes just walking and, 30 feet one way, 30 feet the other, you would think that gets boring very fast. But when you're talking to your grandfather, not knowing, it was actually a wonderful time. We talked about going fishing again, and we made all these plans for the summer. And I know we got him a cheeseburger that night. They went out of their way to make it. It was real late. And I sat and we watched him eat. And then I went home, and the next day he had started to decline, and that's when they had called us, and I was the first one there. So being there by myself with, my grandfather looking pale and gray, it was hard. No one there to hug or anything. I just, sat and stared because he wasn't coherent. And the nurses had been coming in, and they were very nice to me. They would talk to me, try to get my mind at ease. And at that point, honesty is all you're looking for. You just want to know what's really going on. How do they see this situation going? And the lady was very honest with me, and that's all I could ask for. And I think that helped out more than anything, really. So I just, after that point, when I knew it was close, I sat there with him, and he couldn't talk at some points, but you could tell he was coherent because I would ask him to open his mouth for water, and he would bite down on the sponge. So, that was the whole day. Well, that was the most interaction you could get, was open and close the mouth. I had left and went home to rest. That's what they had told me to do, because we had been there. They wanted her to also. But I ended up coming back after about an hour, and it was good because even though he couldn't talk, and like I said, we knew he was coherent, I was able to tell him all the things that you would want to tell your, person that was most important in your life, what they meant to you, and how well they had done it, how well a job they had done. And I just wanted him to be happy, knowing, that he left a huge imprint on me that, sometimes parents aren't able to do. So, he cried. So, of course, made me feel bad. I didn't want to make him cry, but I knew, that was a good moment between the two of us. And it was about the last that I was able to get with him. But I let him know that no matter what happened in the next day or so, that I was going to be right by his side, holding his hand, just like I am right now. Tried to put him at ease as best as I could. Hospice people in and out, and they were kissing him on the head and making jokes. And I think one of the jokes, the hospice, one of the male nurses had came in, and he was saying something about how we look like twins. And my nan said that we were attached at the hip, twins. And I know I looked at him and I said, I would be the better looking of the two if we were twins. And I joke you not, he laughed. And he had no strength all day to do anything if he didn't. And the nurse was very blown away by that. And that was a good moment I know that we got to share before the end.